Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Wanda Coleman, and I am here to talk with you today about the dangers and lessons of unchecked emotion. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and in the month of May, we're going to talk about some different emotions that, if left unchecked, will be problematic for us. And I use the word unchecked because we are living in a day and age where people love to check stuff. They love to check people. And when you check something, you are putting it in order. You are making sure that he or she understands where you're coming from. You're making sure things are in alignment. So, we are going to talk about the dangers and lessons of unchecked emotions. So, let's just do a little recap. Last week, we talked about Moses and we talked about frustration. And when we talk about emotions, we know that emotions are a natural instinctive state of mind deriving from one's circumstances, mood, relationships with others. So we all deal with emotions. And last week, we talked about Moses and he was dealing with frustration. Moses was in a place where he was dealing with the frustration of the people, and God told Moses to speak to the rock, but instead he struck the rock twice. And although water still gushed out and God was able to provide for his people, Moses never got a chance to see the promised land. Moses was in a place where he disqualified himself from the promised land. From all of these years of delivering the people and being with them in the wilderness, he didn't even get a chance to see the promised land. He didn't step foot in it because he acted out of anger and frustration. So today we're going to talk about Elijah and we're going to talk about burnout. Have you ever suffered burnout? Are you in a place where you may be even dealing with burnout now? Now, let's talk a little bit about burnout. What is burnout? When we talk about burnout, it is a state of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stress. Have you ever been in a place where you were burnt out? You just kept going and going and going, and you couldn't go anymore. Sometimes we are in a place where we push ourselves to the limit. Sometimes we take on more than we should. Sometimes we do not know and understand how to rest. So, when we are dealing with burnout, some symptoms of burnout may be high blood pressure, reoccurring headaches, sleep issues, depressed mood, and sometimes burnout left unchecked, people can deal with depression. A lot of times when we read the story that we're about to touch on today, from Elisha's point of view, many people thought he was depressed, just going through the rigors of life and going through the rigors of leading people and going through the rigors of ministry. Sometimes doing all of that without getting the proper rest, we can be in a place where we are dealing with burnout. So we have Elijah, and I am in First Kings chapter 17, and this is where Elijah is first introduced to us. And it tells us in Elijah chapter 17, verse 1, Elijah from Tishbe, who was one of the settlers in Gilead, said to Ahab, who was a king then, as surely as the Lord lives, Israel's God, the one I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain these years unless I say so. So Elijah was a prophet. He was on assignment by God. He was doing God's work. He was leading God's people. He was telling forth his word, and he was dealing with some issues and some people in the land that became a stress to him. He was despised by King Ahab and Jezebel. He grew weary in his assignment. Elijah grew weary in his assignment. He was there, and we just read that he said, there will be neither dew nor rain these 3 years unless I say so. So King Ahab did not like that. He did not like that Elijah served God. He did not like that he was bold in the things that he said and he wasn't afraid of man. And then we see here in um, 1 Kings chapter 18, 1 Kings chapter 18, it tells us that this is where Elijah went against the prophets of Baal. And he was in this place where he was letting the people know, who you going to serve? Are you going to serve the Lord? Or are you going to serve or are you going to serve this other guy? Who are you going to serve here? And he told them here, right here in verse 22 of 18, 1 Kings 18, Elisha said to the people, I am the last of the Lord's prophets, but Baal's prophets number 450. Give us two bulls. Let Baal's prophets choose one. Let them cut it apart and set it on the wood, but don't add fire. I'll prepare the other bull, put it on the wood, and won't add fire. Then all of you will call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord. And the God who answers with fire, that's the real God. So here he's challenging the prophets of Baal. Call on your God. Let's see who's going to bring fire. And I'm going to call on the name of the Lord. And he put that before them, that challenge before them. And they were calling on their God and calling on their God, and there was no answer. And they were saying, Great Baal, answer us, but there was no sound or answer. And they performed all of these things. They hopped and danced around the altar, and they shouted, and no fire came, no answer. And then Elisha set it up, and he let them know, put some water on it, drench it. And he called on the name of the Lord, and God answered. He answered with fire. So I'm telling you all this because Elisha was in the thick of working. He was in the thick of ministry. He was in the thick of his assignment. He was doing what he was called to do. And he was triumphant. He was victorious. God, of course, showed up and demonstrated he was the real God, that he's the only wise God. And King Ahab and Jezebel did not like that. And Jezebel threatened Elijah, and Elijah ran. And here we have Elisha doing the work of the Lord. He's doing what he's called to do, and he's dealing with burnout. He's dealing with being in a place where he's feeling depression now. He's feeling these different things come upon him. He ran. He did this great thing, and then he feared for his life. And sometimes when we are dealing with burnout, we go through these periods when we are not getting rest, and we go through extremes. And it's dangerous because if it will cause us to stop doing what we are called to do. When we're dealing with burnout and we're tired and we're not thinking straight, it will cause us to stop doing what we know to do. It will cause us to walk away from our assignment. It will cause us to sit down prematurely. It will cause us to be in a place where we're thinking things we should not think. Because Elijah, he didn't want to be here anymore. He started having suicidal ideations because he was afraid, he was scared, he was stressed, he was tired. And it ended up being that, you know, he had to, when he ran away, God caused him to find a place to rest. He found a place to rest. And it says here in Elijah 19, excuse me, 1 Kings chapter 19, it says here in verse 3, Elisha was terrified because Jezebel said, I'm going to make your life like one of those prophets, those prophets that you just had destroyed. I'm going to make your life like theirs. And he was terrified, and he got up and he ran for his life, and he arrived at Beersheba in Judah and left his assistant there. He himself went farther on into the desert, a day's journey. He finally sat down under a solitary broom bush. He longed for his own death. It's more than enough, Lord. Take my life because I'm no better than my ancestors. And he lay down and slept under the solitary broom bush. He had had enough. He was tired. He was afraid. He was stressed. He was burnt out. He was going depressed. He felt so many different types of emotions. And when you are going through that and you do not take time to step away and rest, you will put yourself in isolation or alienation because you're running from things instead of running to God. You're trying to isolate yourself in a way that's not healthy, in a way where you're thinking harmful things. So when we leave burnout unchecked, it will cause us to stop doing what we are called to do. It will make us think irrationally. Elijah, he was thinking, hey, I've had enough of this. I don't even want to be here anymore. Take my life. And that's a sign that, we need to get into the presence of the Lord. We need to reevaluate what we are doing. We need to really step back and see where all of what we are encountering and experiencing, where is this coming from? What's going on the inside of us where we feel like we've had enough? What's going on the inside where thoughts of not wanting to be here anymore? What is happening on the inside? We need the presence of the Lord. We need the help of Holy Spirit. And when we leave burnout unchecked, the danger is it will lead to self aggrandizement. What do I mean by that? It will lead to us promoting ourselves or being of thinking that we're more powerful or more important or thinking more highly of ourselves than we ought. As excuse me, Elijah had a time where he was saying, I am the only one, I'm the only prophet doing this, and I'm the only person, the only prophet doing that. And that was not true. But when you are in a place where you are dealing with burnout and you feel like you are the only one doing something, or you feel like all of this stress is falling on you and you're carrying all of this burden, first of all, it's not yours to carry. It's not ours to carry. I'm not exempt from this conversation. As a matter of fact, I'm having a moment right now where it was very real for me, wondering if I was going to even do this live today. I was wondering if I was going to do the live because here I am. I said for the next 4 weeks, we're going to talk about the dangers and lessons of unchecked emotion. And this week alone has been very heavy, dealing with a lot of grief right now. The passing of three loved ones, friends, family, they're just dealing with a lot. And we get to a place where so much, working a full-time job, being in ministry. I'm a wife, I'm a mother of adult children. And truth be told, when you're dealing with adult children, sometimes is more than an ocean, right? And I'm thankful that, they're doing things and they're learning and finding their way. And I have to learn how to step back and be hands off and take my hands off some things. But truth be told, I'm tired, and we all get tired. We all have to be in a place where we find balance. So one of the lessons that we can get out of Elijah, is the fact that we have to learn balance in our personal lives, our vocation, in our careers, in ministry. We have to know when enough is enough. We have to leave work at work. We have to learn when to say no. We have to learn when to sit down. We have to give our attention to the things that matter, because all of this stuff that we are doing, number one, we have to ask ourselves, am I called to do this? Is this my assignment? And if it is, God will give us what we need to accomplish it. But we want to make sure that we are in the will of God, doing the things that we are purposed to do, and not the things that other people want us to do, not the things that we think we can do. Everything that we can do doesn't mean we need to do. So we need to have balance. Also, we need to have rest A lesson we can learn is that rest is needed before the next assignment or the next thing can be fully embraced. It was crucial that Elijah rested here. He was at this broom bush and he laid down and he went to sleep. And then at one point, the Lord's messenger returned to him. He gave him a jar of water. He told him to eat and drink. And he came back again and said, "Get up, eat something because you have a difficult road ahead of you." So Elijah got up, he ate and drank and went refreshed by that food for 40 days and nights until he arrived at Horeb. Elijah had more work to do, but if he would have kept going at the pace he was going and the mindset that he was going, he would not have made it there. So sometimes we need to step back and get some rest so we can continue on with the assignment, so that we can see what the next assignment will bring. We have to be in a refreshed state of mind so that we can receive our next thing. Sometimes we're so anxious to get the next thing that by the time we get to the next thing, we're too tired to enjoy it. So we have to get rest. Rest is needed before the next assignment or the next thing can be embraced. And then lastly, a lesson we can learn from Elijah is nothing is more important than your health and wellness. Listen, there's a lot of demands that comes out of every day. There's always a demand. There's always an emergency. There's always a challenge. And guess what? We are not in a place to do any of that if we don't take our health and our wellness seriously. If we do not listen to our bodies, if we do not take the time to just be and sit still and be still. One of the hardest things for humanity to do is to be still. Have you thought about that? We are always on the go. And anytime we have to be still just for a moment, it seems like we got to think of the next thing to do. We got to think of something to pick up. We got to think of something to do. We got to get busy with something else. Nothing is more important, your health and wellness, because if you're not healthy, you won't be able to enjoy life. If you're not well, you won't be able to enjoy life. If you're not healthy and well, you won't be able to do what God has called and purposed you to do. You won't be able to help yourself or anyone else. So we want to put in check burnout, because we don't want to be in a place where we're dealing with depression. Depression is a real thing. And if we keep going and going and going, that's one of the things that we can deal with as well. We want to be in a place where we can think clearly, that we can give of ourselves fully, that we can love fully. So if you're in a place where you're dealing with burnout, I hope this lesson was helpful, and I hope that you take a moment and get with God in prayer. I pray that if you need help organizing your thoughts or talking to someone, I pray that you talk to a counselor or therapist or pastor. Talk to someone that can help you if you're having trouble in that area, so that you can just be more, enjoy life more. So I pray that you were blessed by this lesson. I'm Wanda M. Coleman, Dr. Wanda M. Coleman. If you are not familiar with my ministry, I have Empowered by the Word on Sunday mornings on Facebook Live and on YouTube. I ask that you like my channel and press the bell to get notifications. And until we see each other again, be blessed and have a great day.